morning.
Good morning.
Wait, let me see your lips.
Oh, I have another window open because I was sharing the live, so I'm just going to close that and I should be back on track.
Yeah, because we seem to be kung fu fighting again, but
I'm
apologies in
okay now.
advance. Wonderful. So, how was everybody's weekend? What did you do, Julia? Or
Oh,
last
well,
week, even last week?
this weekend, this Saturday, I went to the Pommier Court and I
Mm-hmm.
went and saw the Rock the Block with Crystal, who was partying at Pommier Corner,
Yep.
just doing Zumba and keeping warm. And they had all sorts of funny character. Buddy the elf was there. Check the video. There's a video of Buddy just saying what he had for
Oh,
breakfast. So it was really cool.
oh, you froze for a minute. I hope it wasn't me, but we'll see what happens. Well, it's winter time. Things can happen. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
it looked really busy,
it was
and
all right, and it's like it was for the toy drive, so
it
that
was
was
good.
kind of nice. Yeah, it was really nice, and Santa was there, and Cindy Lou Who, and
Yep, and the
anyway,
group.
so there's a lot of cool pictures on the Facebook page, so you guys can go and check it out. What
I
did you
got
do?
well, I got to do the Zumba last year. This weekend while Zumba was going on, we were DJing two Christmas parties.
Mhm.
So we were doing that. But last week we I went to the Business Sisters Christmas get together in Alexandria. That's
Mhm.
awesome. I love that event. It's so festive and nice. And if you want to see more about the Business Sisters, go to business-sisters.ca. Um,
Wonderful, wonderful organization that
it
helps
is
women in business. So yeah, support them. It's like it's an awesome group of gals.
run by Doreen Ashton Wagner. She's awesome too. And then Crossing God Rose Durley had been crossing kids on the same corner for 50 years, and
What a
Sing
beautiful
acknowledged her.
story.
I know, and I'm so glad Sylvie was able to go cover that for us. Such a heartwarming story, and apparently Rose knew nothing about it until
Oh,
everybody showed up. Even the Ottawa TV station was there, so that was
yeah.
wonderful. And then Thursday, we both went to the City of Cornwall's Year in Review at the Galaxy. Again,
Yep.
another awesome event where you get to see all kinds of stuff that's been going on in the past year that we might not have noticed before, especially a lot of construction and new businesses and stuff like that. We don't see that every day. So
Yeah.
that,
And there's a lot
that's good.
happening in Cornwall. A lot happening. Like yeah, it was enlightening to see,
Yeah,
and the story again is posted on our website. Go to the seeker.ca, you can see all about it. The link to the presentation, the
yeah.
actual presentation, is in there, so you can open it up and see for yourself like all the wonderful things that are happening in Cornwall.
Yeah, no, there's a lot, and that's why that is a great event
Hmm.
because get to see it all in what 3 hours this time. It was a long presentation, long. But talking about what's been going on in Cornwall, we are going to. Well, the last show that we had, we talked to Melody from the Children's Christmas Fund, and she organizes the baskets and the toys for people in need. And today we're going to kind of continue that conversation. And we're going to talk to three wonderful women who work for three great organizations because we want to see how we can help less fortunate
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
especially because it breaks my heart to see the people living in tents right now. So we thought we'd see
Yeah.
what
and
can you
and
help us out there.
And there was a story circulating over the weekend about the fire department going into the encampment and taking away their heating and the latrines and stuff. And
Mhm.
it saddens me to see how people are trying to paint this as a black and white picture when it is something that is so complex and has millions of colors, right? It's not a black
Yep.
and white issue. And like people mean well, but I think it would be better if people would stop trying to just make it a this or that issue when it isn't. There's like hundreds of variables that are
Mhm.
making it what it is, and we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, so introduce our guests.
So today we have, I'm hoping you bring them in the order that I say. We have Lisa Dupro from the Agape Center. Good morning,
Good
Lisa.
morning.
We have Olivia LaRue from United Way, SDG. Good
Hello.
morning, Olivia.
Good morning.
Um, we have Sue McDonald from St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sue. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start off with each of you just telling us a little bit about the organization you work for and what your role is in that organization. So who wants to start off? Can we start off with Lisa?
Sure. So
Perfect.
I'm Lisa Dupra. I'm the executive director of the Agape Center, and that is our area's largest food bank and community kitchen. And right now, we're supporting over 3,500 people a month in our food bank, and our soup kitchen is open 6 days a week, serving about 150 meals each day.
Wow. Wow. That's a big number every month, that's for sure. And thanks, Lisa. And Olivia, can we hear what you do?
So I work with United Way Centraide SDG. We're a hyper localized charity that essentially we strategically invest in local organizations that are meeting the most critical need. And so our organization is really surrounded in an essence of adaptability. So wherever a community is in need, we try to conform to that need. And so what we saw in 2024 was that the housing and homelessness crisis was just it was getting out of hand, and we needed to take control internally as well to best advocate for our community. And so they hired my position as housing projects coordinator. So I ultimately convene partners to be able to build quicker, and I advocate for housing that meets the needs of the individuals living in our region.
Wow, thank
Awesome.
you.
Not a small task.
No, not this day and age. And Sue, can we hear what your organization does and what your role is?
Well, where Lisa's food bank is the biggest, we're the smallest, but it doesn't mean we're not working really hard. We're a full volunteer organization. Our food bank is next to St. Francis de Sales Church on Second Street, and we operate out of what people may know as the Hut.
Mhm.
And so we are seeing record numbers of people coming to see us. We're open on Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 to 11. And in the month, so that's only 4 hours a week. And in the month of November, we provided food for over 1,300 people. So
Ah,
being in the food business, food bank business these days is not for the faint of heart. Our volunteers are working really, really hard to try to keep up, but it's becoming very, very challenging.
Yeah,
wow.
I would say so. Like, how has the increase of groceries, like the grocery bills are going up, they have been going up. Things like, it seems like every time I go to the grocery store, it's gone up again, you know.
Mhm.
How does that impact food banks?
You're asking me?
Both of you, I guess.
Okay. Well, definitely it's really difficult. It's harder and harder to put food on the shelves because of the high prices. We work with some very good stores that will sometimes give us a call and say, we've got a sale coming up on this particular item. And so we'll buy quite a bit of that particular item in order to be able to save dollars. That's the one thing we have found is that, when people bring us donations, non-perishable food items, it's great. It's for us, it's great.
Mhm.
But when people give us money, we can stretch that dollar quite a bit.
Lisa?
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we're really fortunate. I mean, we have a really generous community, and we have great partnerships with our grocery stores. And we're members of Feed Ontario and Food Banks Canada, so we do get, some of our food directly through their partnerships in the province, which saves us buying a lot of food. But it's expensive. I mean, a skid of peanut butter is $3,000.
Wow.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then of course, the other thing that it saddens me right now is like we're sitting in a nice warm house and there's so many people living in tents right now. And especially what we heard this weekend, whether it's, true or not. I don't know if you guys heard too that the fire department went in and took the heaters and latrines. We don't know for sure because there's always two sides to the story, right? But that saddens me too because I live in South Glengarry. I don't see that much out here, people living in tents, but when I come into Cornwall, it's very, very evident. How has that happened right now? How is it that we see so many people in tents this year? And we haven't seen that, to me, I haven't seen that in the past years.
I think that it's becoming harder and harder to hide homelessness because homelessness has existed in our community for a long time. And if we look at the history of homelessness in Canada, first instances of mass homelessness really came out in the 80s. And there was a shift towards from social housing to the private market because private market could build faster at that time. And because there's a shift to private market, and we know that private market is typically more expensive than
Mhm.
social housing or housing with a stronger governance structure, it's become increasingly difficult for people since the 80s. But people would get really frugal. Maybe they would stay with a friend or a family member, or they had a car and they could afford to keep the car running overnight. And slowly it's becoming more inaccessible to find a car. So if you can't sleep in a car, you don't have a unit, maybe you don't have friends or family, then you go to a tent. And it's very unfortunate. But I think that the key piece here is homelessness for the majority is hidden. I mean, we go into
Mhm.
the counties, homelessness is prevalent, but because you need a car to get around in the counties, there
Mhm.
are more individuals sleeping in cars. Um, House of Lazarus services a number of individuals who are really struggling. Um, and, maybe Lisa or Sue has something to add as well, because I'm sure that they see individuals experiencing homelessness as well. Um, but it is always impressive to me how great people are at making things work or trying to make ends meet because to hide homelessness is incredibly difficult, and there are people who
Mhm.
do it every day.
And before we proceed, I just want to say that we're going to ask a lot of questions today and probably a lot of tough questions. And we're asking you as it's your personal opinion. We don't like we're just wanting to try to, put our heads together and find like answers and solutions and potentials, but it's always like, in your opinion, what do you think works or doesn't work? So we're asking like, in your opinion, what is contributing to the homelessness? What systemic failures have contributed to rising homelessness in Cornwall and in the area?
Yeah. Well, right now, I mean, people can't, housing is through the roof. I mean, somebody that
Mhm.
lives on a fixed income, say OW, and they're getting $733 a month. Where are you going to live
Hmm.
Yeah.
and pay your rent for that? And once you become homeless, when you lose your housing, you lose that portion of your OW.
Mm-hmm.
So you're only getting your basic needs each month, which I think the shelter portion is $390. So you lose that. So how are you putting together first and last month's rent to find another place to live?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have somebody staying outside here right now, and he cannot find a room to rent.
Mm.
And we're going to help him with first and last month's rent.
Mm-hmm.
So his finances are in place, and he can't even find a room to rent.
Mm. And it's funny because we were talking about that before the show, My-Liis and I. Like a lot of people like to throw COVID in there, say, COVID happened and rents went up, but I was saying, um, like the interest rates have not gone up dramatically. Like they've gone up a little bit, but they haven't, like, it's not like it's at 24% any, like, right now.
Yeah.
Um, but the rents have doubled. So
Mhm.
is there a part of greed in there? Is it like, what do you think? Why do you think the rents have gone up so much in the
Well,
last 5 years?
if I can jump in, I would say that this situation, this crisis we're in now, has been 50 years in the making. I've got a chart here from the Canadian Centre for Housing Rights, and the last time that provincial and federal governments were properly funding affordable housing was 1970.
Wow.
Uh, and so then it started coming down in the 80s. The discussion was saying that in the 80s there was a recession and a lot of people were struggling, and that's when people virtually first started becoming homeless. But there were cutbacks from the government all the way through to the point of now in 2020, we're at crisis level. And I have to say that, through those 50 years, we've had an opportunity to see every government of every stripe, both at the federal and the provincial governments, have not picked up the ball. And so it's really at crisis levels now. The other thing is that the Canadian inflation really started, of course, it's always going up, but I have another chart here that talks about inflation and the cost of food and housing. And, we can talk about COVID, and I think COVID is a factor for sure, because by June of 2021, that's where food prices and housing prices started to really, really climb. And then take into consideration rent controls in Ontario and the changes that have been made around whole that whole system. Now we've got people that can't afford to have a roof over their heads.
And I might add as well, every year, Ontario Living Wage Network releases an amount that would constitute the hourly wage required to meet basic needs. In 2024, it was 21.65 an hour. So that's
Mhm.
about 40,000 a year. And now, just this November, it's increased to 22.20 an hour. So that's just over 40,000 a year. We look
Mm-hmm.
at minimum wage, just under $18.
Yeah.
Wow.
Somebody could work a 40-hour work week
Mhm.
and not be able to meet their basic needs.
Right.
That in itself is a systemic issue,
Mm-hmm.
that we're not paying people enough to live. And I understand from a business owner's perspective, it's not always within the budget. But that's where our governments can also step in. And if you are guaranteed to offer a living wage that the government subsidizes, right? If you can meet that minimum wage requirement and they can
Mhm.
subsidize up into the living wage, we would see huge reductions in the discomfort that people are feeling. And universal basic income and basic income guarantee models, where it really establishes that every individual in their Charter 7 right, your right to security, deserves to have the dignity of a home that they feel safe in. that they feel
Mm-hmm.
secure in. And
Mm-hmm.
that is equipped with the safety features such as heat and electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely important, but right now it's just out of reach, and it's not whether or not you work hard enough. It
So,
really comes down to the numbers.
speaking of people who are working and can't afford basic living things, I will say to Lisa and Sue, um, how many of the people you help are working but still unable to afford food or housing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have an exact number on that, but I know we have a lot of working families coming in. Both parents work,
Wow.
and they're still not, I'm sure their rent is $1,800 a month. They need one vehicle, I'm sure. So your insurance, your fuel, you know. So groceries, they need it. Groceries seem to come last because they know that they can come here, which, I'm glad that we're here.
Mm-hmm.
But they need a roof over their heads. And if both parents are working, there's not a big child tax benefit, coming in every month, but they're both working. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the phone calls that we get like midway through the month, like between appointments, can I just come in and get school snacks,
Yeah.
just to make it to, the next appointment. And so we accommodate that. Nobody's ever turned away.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And from Stats Food Banks Canada, March 2025, I'm like Lisa, it's really hard for us to sort of have a percentage. Our days are so busy, we can't just sort of take that
Yeah.
statistic.
Yeah.
But Food Banks Canada, March 2025, said that 18% of the people going to food banks are people that are working and just can't make ends meet. But when you're paying 70% or more of your income
And
for
isn't it supposed to be 30%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
Yes.
should be a lot
Jesus.
less, but it's really it's that high. When you're paying that much for your rent, there's nothing left, and it makes it really hard for
Yeah,
people.
well, we were just like Miley said before the show started, we were at the Team Cornwall Year in Review on Thursday, and they announced that the average sale. So we're talking rents and sales of houses. The average sale of a house is now $500,000 in Cornwall, $500,000. Like my house here that I live in is an old house, and I bought it when it was like ridiculously low, and my mortgage is like $400 a month. Like, I do not know what this looks like if my mortgage was
Mm-hmm.
$2,200 a month. Like,
Hmm.
I'd be using your services for sure. Like, it's insane. 70% of your salary goes to housing. It's just like,
We ran the numbers based on updated data. So for individuals living on Ontario Works or ODSP, for an individual in a single bedroom, it is over 100% of your income.
wow.
For somebody on a public pension, nearly 100% of your income is spent on housing. And when
Wow.
we think about that too, old age security and public pension is not enough to keep up with these rates. And
No.
we understand that there is elder poverty. We understand that somebody who is working minimum wage, half of their income for one bedroom is just gone, and that's excluding all of your additional costs to maintain
That's
your
right.
home.
Yeah.
And in the counties, it's worse yet. It's worse yet because it's more expensive.
Mhm.
And with the vacancy rates in the counties being as low as they are, and during COVID, they did reach zero. I mean, there was no vacancies at all. The landlords have that leverage to charge what they would like. It's basic economics, right? It's your supply and demand. And we can see where And I think that there are good landlords and there are good tenants, the same way that there are bad landlords and bad tenants.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people who have really taken advantage of the ability to charge what they would like within the private market. And it's an investment. When I purchase a stock, I never say I'm guaranteed my return on my investment. And if the stock tanks, I can't go blame my financial advisor. I can't go to Pepsi and bang on the door and demand they give me my money back.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how an investment works.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the pricing piece, landlords have to remember it's an investment, and humans are not guaranteed income. Basic human needs are not guaranteed income.
So you're in a housing, and I want to address a situation that I personally think contributes to taking out potential units from the market, and that's the Airbnb um, phenomenon. A lot of the owners are now converting their units into Airbnbs
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot more profitable to rent your home or your rooms one night at a time than it is to do it monthly. So, do you think that has a big, it's a big factor in why we're lacking units or affordable units, I should say?
So I think that there's a piece of that is true, that it does affect our market. But what I would call our attention to is the diversity of housing that's required to create a sustainable housing ecosystem. And within that, we do need transitional housing. We do need community housing. So that's nonprofit or cooperative led housing. We need affordable rentals and affordable homes, and we need market because everybody fits in a different type of housing at different points in their lives. And, for somebody who is transitioning from an experience of homelessness into housedness, they do need that transitional piece. And maybe they'll move in to community housing where the rent is 30% of their income, deeply affordable. Then maybe they move into affordable housing where the rent is 30% below market, which is a relative affordability measure. And then maybe at some point they end up in market housing. Might also look at older people who, they've lived in their family homes, their children move out and they say, I don't need a big house. And so they might go into an affordable rental or a market rental, or maybe, their public pension isn't enough. And so they move into a community housing style. Or in this case, right, a lot of publicly owned old age institutions, which is a type of housing. And what's important to note is that we need all of these pieces
Mm-hmm.
to make housing work. And where we've really lacked, so as Sue mentioned, in the 70s, that was really the last true investment in social housing structures. So after the Second World War is when Canada really invested. I think it was 19,000 units a year in social housing. Well, when we think about those funding cuts that happened in the 70s and 80s and how many units we've lost since then, it shows a huge deficit. But where they were investing was separate from market because we need more than just market.
Mm-hmm.
So in the market, I think it is okay to convert your unit into an Airbnb. While it does contribute right now to the lack of units, I think it's also the responsibility of our governments and of our local organizations who have the capacity to build mandated affordable units and to keep them within that community housing range where they're community owned, because within those frameworks we can create greater, I don't want to say restrictions, but regulations to maintain affordability. We look at the Ottawa Community Land Trust. They're purchasing housing that is vulnerable to the private market. So it maybe once was affordable, now it's up for sale, and they purchase it to maintain its affordability forever. And that's really what we need. And so, in shifting our focus from private to social, I
Mhm.
think that's where we'll see the most progress, and that's where we'll see the most long term stability.
Hmm. You agree, ladies?
Absolutely. I mean, I am not a housing expert by any means, but I see the effects of homelessness here every day, and it just comes down to affordability. So we're just right now not going in the right direction.
Hmm.
The other
Mhm.
thing I would add is, there are some people who wouldn't be considered technically homeless, but when the wind blows through the walls, and the lights don't work, and there's high risk elements in their home that are putting them susceptible. It's not if maybe they have a roof over their heads, but I would hardly call it comfortable. So there's that whole other part
Yeah.
where whether it's due to landlords or I don't, like, I mean, this is a very complex issue,
Yeah.
but some units people are living in are really not livable.
Hmm. So, which brings me to the next questions, because we we were talking about it before the show as well, and it's not a black and white issue. It's a
Mhm.
very complex issue, and of course there is always talks of addiction and mental illness when it comes to encampments, especially, or homelessness as a whole. Do you see that? Do you see that the trauma and untreated mental health is a big part into why people are homeless, or is it just a fraction of the tip of the iceberg, let's say?
If I see Lisa's gearing up to answer, but if I may,
No, go
very
ahead.
briefly, um, the question I always ask when people bring this up is if you were sleeping outside and it's freezing, and I'm a woman, so I'll say as a woman, and you're afraid to wake up with somebody on top of you, would you do drugs to cope with that trauma? I would.
Hmm.
If you were sitting on the street and you've been kicked, you've been spat on, would you try and cope with that with substances that helped you make it go away? Because I would. I think it is extremely difficult to sleep rough, extremely. And the housing first model or approach, because at one point our society said, well, you had to get clean first
Hmm.
before you could
Okay.
get into housing.
And
And housing first.
I think it's still like that. Like, if you want to go to a temporary housing, you have to commit to not doing drugs and stuff, right?
So this
Correct
is
me if I'm wrong.
so there are some places that will do this. However, most places are taking a housing first approach
Hmm.
where
Okay.
we say if we give you an intensive case manager and move you into housing so you have 24/7 supports, can you have the mental and physical ability to get better? What they found is that yes. So for every $10 that they invested into this program, they saved $21.72 in incarceration, police contact,
Mhm.
justice system fees, hospital fees, crisis bed stays, because a lot of this can't be treated when we allow our society to keep people in very tough situations where I think anybody would find a way to cope. And mental health issues, I mean, we don't have the supports required. There's not enough federal and provincial investment into mental health supports. The wait lists are incredibly long to access free
Mhm.
mental health care. And so, in this model where we actually move people with those supports first and we invest in that, That's how people get better. But I just say that to say there's a lot of stigma around mental health and addictions with those who are sleeping rough and experiencing homelessness. But I always question whether or not you could, because I don't think I could. I think I would do the same thing.
Good
Hmm.
point.
And Lisa, you wanted to.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. I mean, we see it here every day, and I mean, there's no judgment, on anybody that walks through our doors. But if I was living in that situation and I didn't know where I was going to sleep tonight and I wasn't safe and I had no supports, I would probably do the same thing. It's a coping mechanism that,
Mhm.
just becomes, an addiction, and, and there just is not enough help right now.
Yeah.
So we do what we can to fill in those gaps, but I mean, we can only do so much as well.
But it's a catch 22 at the same time, because you get all these people, like the people who are working, who are already taxed, are complaining that the taxes go up and that, there's not enough money. And then funding all these services would require more tax dollars or funding, or, money doesn't grow on trees, unfortunately. And like, what's the solution? Where I'm a total socialist, by the way. So if you've read anything I've ever written, like, I'm borderline communist when it comes to social programs and stuff. I think that um, funding those adequately would reduce so much in what we're seeing. However, mine is not a popular opinion. So how do you, like, what would what would be required, in your opinion, to fix the situation?
If I can chime in, I think, my husband has been in business for over 50 years. And if the government operated like a real business, there would probably be a lot of money to fund all these programs and more. There's a lot of waste. What
Mhm.
we need is some very strong politicians to, cut the waste and start spending the money in the places where it's needed.
I
Well, let's
think
see if they could live on $733 a month.
That's been frozen for 7 years.
Yeah, there's not been an OW increase since 2018. I
Wow.
could live on $733 every 2 weeks.
Mm.
It's ridiculous.
Well, there's not even an apartment for that kind of money anymore.
No.
Not even a
Not
room.
even a room.
Not
Right?
even a
No.
room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a fact. I was on this site on Facebook, and somebody was offering a room for $750 a month. So that's, you have to share the kitchen, you have to share the bathroom, you have a room, and I don't know how big that room would be even. But if you're on Ontario Works, it's $733. Like Lisa said, you can't even afford a room. So, there's and couch surfing's been going on for many, many years. This is not a new issue.
Hmm.
It's just at such a crisis level that it's spilling over into our parks and things like that. And so we're seeing it more.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a whole situation that we don't even see, but that's, or don't really talk about. That's kind of like a, not an issue in itself, but like, let's talk about kids not leaving home anymore. Like,
Yeah.
there's like, my kids are never leaving home. Like, there's just no way. You know, they have good jobs, but at the same time, like, there's just not enough. Like you were saying, it's $22 a minimum salary that you would
Mhm.
be able to live on. When you have a part-time job, it's just not happening.
Well, you definitely could not live by yourself. You'd have to
Y-
have
for
somebody
sure.
living with you or plus, plus, plus. You couldn't do it alone. That's for sure.
Yeah. So is that something you're seeing more of? Is like people bunking together, like
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
sharing apartments, sharing like but there's like also limitations, right? Like you cannot have more than one person per room or two people per room, especially when it comes to kids. I know that my son recently moved into an apartment and they were asking for the boy and the girl to have separate rooms. So there you go. You need a 3 bedroom now. So
Mhm.
there's other regulations that you got to contend with. And
Now, the one thing about bunking in together is with Ontario Works and ODSP, if you identify as a couple, your benefits will be garnished. But if
mm,
you're not a couple, your benefits are not garnished, or at least that's what I was told 2 years ago when I did a survey on this kind of thing with the food bank at St. Vincent de Paul. So, and what that means is $300 difference for a couple living together on Ontario Works, because I'm just using that because it's an easy number to work with. $300 a month less for two people to live together because they identify as a couple. I think
why?
That doesn't
because
make sense.
because if you're a couple, you probably don't need as much money for shelter because you don't need two rooms. And my answer to that was, we've gone way past that. We're talking about kids sleeping on couches and mattresses on the floor, and we're talking about a situation that is in crisis. And to say that somebody, because they are a couple, like, I mean, and who can judge that? There's women that live together that are couples. There's men that live together that are couples. There's a man and a woman. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of different couples out there. So how can they judge that? I think it's prejudicial. Really, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important what you're saying about like kids being in the living conditions are not optimal. Even when they do have housing, the living conditions are
Yeah.
less than, and then these kids go to school and
Mhm.
then they can't really focus, and then it affects the entirety of their formative age, their
Yep.
formative years. So it's kind of sad to see. Are there programs in schools to help the kids
For
for
housing or
for
for food?
not for housing, for like food insecurity,
Breakfast or
let's say
food.
breakfast and
Yep.
stuff?
So we serve breakfast now in the morning.
Okay.
We're open from 7:30 till 9 every morning for
Okay.
kids to come in and have breakfast, and we pack them a lunch for school.
Oh,
Okay.
that's awesome.
And that has grown at an alarming rate. So in June, we had about 45 to 50 visits each month. Or sorry, in June we had 45 to 50 visits. September we had 240,
Wow.
and in October we had 353 visits of
Wow.
kids coming in, having breakfast, and taking their lunch to school. And I
Wow.
mean, that's
So,
just families that can get here in the morning. I'm
mhm.
sure there's many other families that don't have the transportation or, to even get here in the morning. So we're missing a lot of families.
Not to mention, there's a stigma
Yeah.
probably around it, and
Yep.
parents might not get there because they are too proud, or
Yep.
don't want to have that stigma around them. um yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy.
we make it very welcoming, and, we
Yeah.
welcome the kids when they come in, and they're like regulars now. And they actually just do their own thing when they come in. But
Hey, there is no shame in
no,
asking for help, like
No.
not at all.
no shame at all.
Not at all. And 2 years ago, we did Operation Backpack, where we took food into one of our public schools in the city. And the first year we did it, we had 109 students registered. So we would take food in on a Friday for the kids to take home for the weekends.
Mm.
It was two breakfasts, two lunches, and snacks. And the second year, it went up to 175 students in one school.
Wow.
and we had grants to cover that. And this year, I didn't get the grants, so we couldn't offer that program. But we had
Wow.
2 other schools reach out that wanted to join Operation Backpack because they knew the kids were, probably without food for the weekends.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the problem is too, it's not the kid. The kids can't do anything about it. At least you're giving the food because they can't go out and shop and buy it. So it's very important. Wow.
So, um, we're coming towards the end of the show. I want to
Mhm.
ask you, ladies, what do you need? How can the community help? Um, what are the opportunities for people to elevate you in our community? Because you do fantastic work,
Yep.
and we want to try to help you in your.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Agape Center is strictly nonprofit. I mean, we raise all our own money. We get no funding, federal, provincial, or municipal. We do our own thing. And thanks to, our community partners and our donors and our fundraising, our thrift store,
Mhm.
we have managed to continue to meet the needs in our community. And I mean, just statistics wise, just in our community kitchen alone, in the last from 2020 to 2024, we increased 350%.
Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, we manage. I mean, it amazes me every day what comes through this door, and and we continue to have the food available, and we haven't had to cut back in our services. I would say people probably get more now than they did before. But people can support us financially. They can support us with donations to the thrift store, volunteering. I mean, there's lots of different ways to support the Agape Center.
What's your most urgent need right now, Lisa?
Food wise,
Yeah.
canned vegetables.
Wow.
Yeah, we're short on canned veggies. They fly off the shelves.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, Sue, what can the community do to support you?
Well, I'll tell you that community just did. On Friday, Boom 101.9 with Dan Allaire, he ran an all-day food drive for us, and it's incredible the amount of food that has come in, as well as monetary donations. Um, he enlists the help of Holy Trinity, St. Joe's High School, and St. Matt's. And those kids, they must have frozen their bottoms off trying, because they went door to door. They stood outside grocery stores. It was amazing what they did. They brought in cash and they brought in food. And Cornwall responded to them in a big way. Now, having said that, that'll probably take us to spring. So then we've
Wow.
got the rest of the year to go. So, it's, and this, I have to tell you, is our first year that we have had to send out letters to ask people to help for financial donations. We've always had, donations come in, but this is the first time where we saw that it was going to be tough to get to the end of the year. And we sent out letters to all the service clubs, and they really responded in a very generous way. But I worry about donor fatigue
Yeah.
on two sides with donations of non-perishable food items as well as cash. I really think that it's time for the three governments, federal, provincial, and municipal, to get together and to come and be a support to us. Like Lisa said, we get no money from those particular governments,
Hmm.
and it's getting too much for any one food bank to carry all alone. We were never meant to be carrying, to be a safety net
No,
for this amount of
People.
people.
Right.
no.
We were
Um,
never meant for that.
I want to a note on Holy Trinity, who helped you with your food drive. One of the teachers actually told the kids that he would take their worst grade of the semester and erase it if they raised
Oh,
enough
wow.
cans. And that grade just
Oh, that's
like,
wonderful.
yeah, they got like 400 cans and they won their challenge and they were so
Wow.
happy.
Another teacher I know, she said that if they brought in an item, they could remove the one question from their test, whichever
Oh,
one they wanted, and that worked really well too.
yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. It's creative ways. They used to do like pizza party, but I like this better. It's a better incentive, I think.
Yeah, and it
Or
helps you guys out too. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
moving on to Olivia.
Olivia.
So last year, 2024, 2025, we were able to invest over 500,000 into housing and homelessness because of our generous donors, our supporters, local foundations, people who just really believe in how we invest. And we impacted 1,155 lives. That is incredible. And donors, it's the giving season. We're close to Christmas. This is the time where if you have that little extra cash, you know, we we love for you to donate. Maybe if you don't have that luxury, we're hosting community housing sessions where we're actually taking input from the community to develop our housing strategy. So tonight at St. Andrew's Fire Hall at 5:30 p.m. we're hosting a session, and then on December 11th in it's Matilda Hall, so it's in Brisbane, South Dundas. That's at 5:30 p.m. as well. Um, those are great opportunities to learn about how you can advocate. And then, if you're a business owner or a housing provider and you want to talk more about how you can bridge that gap, we're hosting a full lunch on December 17th, where businesses will also have the opportunity to connect with nonprofits that they can support in building housing.
Hmm.
We'll talk about some of the legislative changes and the ways that we can really generate strong impact in the housing sector. And of
Hmm.
course, we have our Celebration Sleigh holiday raffle.
Hmm.
So we have $8,000 in prizing. So it's $1,000 in gas cards, $1,000 in grocery cards, $1,000 to box stores, and then 5K cash. That's the pricing. And all of the money that we make on that raffle just gets invested right back into our organization, into our community, so we can make the greatest impact. So however people can help, we're inviting them to come join us.
Where are the tickets available for purchase?
That was my question.
So, for the event tonight and the event on December 11th, on our Facebook, there's links to the Eventbrites. For the December 17th, businesses can either go through Eventbrite and search for the Community Housing Lunch and Learn, or email me directly at olivia@unitedwaysdg.com. Um, and then for any information on the raffle, it's also on our website, unitedwaysdg.com, and on our Facebook.
Perfect.
And for the raffle tickets, can you just come to your office to pick those up, or how do you get those?
Yes. So you can purchase online or you can come into our office. We accept cash, check, debit, credit. So, however you would like to purchase, we're located at 55 Water Street West, Suite 240. So, we're on the second floor. If anybody knows where the old Johnson Bodette office is, we're like right around the corner.
Okay.
So people can swing by even if they just want to talk about housing and how they can get involved.
Perfect. So
And
we
we
have a
have a,
question
yep.
before we go. Go ahead,
Yep.
Mai-Liis.
So we have a question. Somebody is asking, do we have soup kitchens open on weekends?
Yes, we are open on Saturdays for lunch, and when people leave, they take a takeout lunch for Sundays.
Okay.
Good, good. Awesome.
And
Well,
and
ladies,
just another quick question. So anybody needing help from either Lisa or Sue, do they have to bring any kind of proof of anything, or they just walk in the doors and you guys help them, or how does that work?
You just come in the door, and we ask for ID, proof of address. But if you don't have ID, because a lot of our folks don't, you are not refused, and you can start using the services right away.
Awesome. So even if they don't have an address, it doesn't stop them from coming.
No.
Same with us. We just need ID, and we just open a file. And our particular food bank, a volunteer will go around with them, and they can pick some items that they need, and then they pack them up and they go.
and again, it's open when, Sue
Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 to 11.
and Lisa?
Monday to Friday, 8 to 4.
Perfect. All right. Well, this was very, very informative, very interesting. I thank you so much for being with us,
Thank
ladies.
you.
And well, I'm sure we'll see you around in the community.
Great.
All
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you
right.
so
you.
much.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well,
Wow,
that was
what an eye opener, because I always thought that the food banks were funded.
mhm,
It seems that they get no funding other than what they raise themselves
right.
or
That's
donations.
like that's nothing short of a miracle, if you ask me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age. And then when they were telling us how much people get, like $700 a month and stuff, no
Yeah.
wonder
Yeah.
we're seeing this problem. You can't survive on that. You can barely put a roof over your head
Yeah.
and you can't eat.
Yeah. I think
So, wow.
universal income would help a lot. Like, I think it could be a good way to reduce these situations. Like, at least everybody would have a basic,
Yeah.
something to start from, to start with, that covers
Basic
a good,
living.
yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. It's
All
very
right.
sad.
So before we go, I want you to talk about our contest that's going on right now.
Yeah, we are in our second month of the contest. The December Seeker's out. If I can get out of my driveway today, I
Mm,
will be delivering, which I am
it
now
is
one way or
gorgeous.
the other. The,
It's our home for the holidays
yeah, our
issue, and I
flip.
just love it.
Hey, I'm backwards, but you're the right way. So we do have the Shop Local for the Holidays contest going on. It's going to go on till about the 20th of December. So when you shop at any of these local stores, am I backwards or can you see me the right way?
I see you backwards, but maybe I'll put the page on because I don't seem to be backwards. But
Yeah, you're not.
this thing has a way to flip the video after it's filmed. I don't know what's up with that, but anyways,
Yeah, yours is the right way. So I'm
okay.
just going to name all the businesses that you can visit. And every time you make a purchase, you get a ballot for a chance to win $250 cash. And then the store that the name is picked from also wins a $250. So they get 2 months of advertising for free, which is something we always give away every Christmas. So the stores that you can visit are Gordon Jewelers in Cornwall, Tickle Your Fancy Gift Shop in Cornwall, Firm Butte Bin in Williamstown, Rob McIntosh in Lancaster, Buzz Records in Cornwall, Wish Wish Comfort Foods and Catering in Martintown, Celtic Treasures in Cornwall, Fairy Sweet in Cornwall, the Glengarry Market in Alexandria, Harvest Market on Vincent Massey, Cornwall Center Road in Cornwall, and the Hummingbird Gift Shop in Akwesasne. Modern Primitive, Cornwall Square in Cornwall, and Dutch Touch Groceries in Alexandria. So you have about 13 stores. I think it was 13.
Yeah, it's a nice little selection
14.
this
14. We have
great
14
selection this
stores.
year.
So visit any of those stores. And we're encouraging you to shop local, and you have a chance to win $250 cash before Christmas.
And the draw is
The draw will be held on the 22nd of December on the Monday show. So what we do is it's kind of fun. We love doing it. 10 names from each store go on an elimination wheel, and we eliminate till there's the last person on the wheel.
last
Person's
last
the
one
winner.
standing
That's
wins the
the winner.
prize.
Yeah, we love doing that.
Yeah.
And I just want to give a quick plug out to the Klein House as well. Until the 20th of December,
Merry Minis.
they have Merry Minis going on. So you can go in and support over 50 local artists in the Cornwall area. They have small paintings, 12 by 12-inch paintings, and the Creative Conservatory is full of small gift ideas. So there's
Yeah,
something for absolutely everybody on your gift list. So
absolutely.
we encourage you to shop local and support local.
Mm. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being with us today. We hope you have a fantastic day.
And a super duper week. Bye for
Bye for
now.
now.